Welcome to the Purpose Pursuit Podcast. This week we're coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia, on the campus of Thrive Christian Academy. And we're diving into a conversation the world desperately needs right now. Masculinity and femininity. They're not our enemies. They're our divine design meant to work together. Culture tries to pit against each other. Today, we're here to build bridges, not barriers. If you're ready to understand why real strength and real beauty thrive side by side, and how men and women can work together to lead families, communities, and generations, you're exactly where you need to be. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and stay locked in because today's conversation could change everything. I want to say thank y'all for having us here in Thrive Christian Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. I think it's an awesome school. Eric showed me around a little bit, showed me the STEM room upstairs. So I thought that was pretty awesome things you guys are doing for the kids. But certainly I think that this topic is needed. Masculinity and femininity. Why is it so important in our homes, and how does that affect our children? So just want to have a discussion about that today. And I think you all are the perfect tandem to do so. Just want to start out by just you guys introduce yourselves.
My name is Eric Hall. The role I play here at Thrive Christian Academy is being a supportive husband to my wife, Dr. Monica Hall. And I'm going to turn it over to her.
All right. Well, as I have been introduced, I am Monica. Most people call me Mo. Around here at Thrive, they call me Dr. Mo or Principal Mo. And I don't know what role I play at Thrive, but the role that Thrive plays for me is that Thrive has given purpose. It has solidified and anchored my faith in God. Thrive has witnessed over and over to me that God can do anything but fail. Thrive has given me a calling. It's given my children a place to grow and to learn and to appreciate Black community. It has given me a place to really witness the support of my husband, which is important in any marriage, any relationship, to give people opportunities to support you so that you can know that they're actually willing to do that. And so in that way, Thrive has taught me how to love all over again. Yeah. It's been a cool space.
Okay. Masculinity and femininity. For whatever reason, culture makes it them against us or always against each other. Just kind of want to get you guys' take. Is it really we're against each other, or should we really be working together in masculinity and femininity?
What do you think?
Well, what I think, I can't speak for everyone. In our marriage, we're definitely not against each other. We're better together if we're working together. Going against the grain is just a no-go for us.
I don't know that in our house that we define things as masculine or feminine. I think that both of us were raised in blended households with blended siblings and blended parents. Both of us went to our share of schools. I went to 13 different schools before I graduated. My husband went to 5 or 6 different schools. And so we're used to filling the role that needs to be filled and not necessarily defining it as masculine or feminine. And so in our relationship, in our household, even with our children, I don't know that we really push gender roles as much as we push respect. We're both somewhat from the South, so we like hospitality. We like our sons opening the doors for their sisters, but I don't know that we would define that as masculine or feminine as much as it is just show respect to your sister, right? Yeah.
Okay. So now there's this phrase that's out there, toxic masculinity.
Okay.
What is it? Like where does that come from? And why has that become such a thing in defining men as being toxic? Where do you guys think that come from?
They just put a spin on I don't know. I guess they just gave it a name.
Yeah.
Well, it just sounds like culture has redefined it, right?
I was just about to say that.
It's taking something that generally is used in Caucasian context, like misogyny,
Yeah,
and the indoctrination of it into the black community comes across as, oh, you're being toxic,
being
right?
toxic, right?
Or controlling, or you're trying to dominate something, versus like you're just trying to do what the Bible tells you to do, which is to be the head of the household, which is important. And that's my response. That would be my response. Like, it just depends on what you're basing your household on. If you're basing your household on what you're seeing on Netflix or reality TV, and then a lot of things are going to be deemed toxic for you. If you're basing your household on the Bible and what the Bible says the household and the structure of the household should look like, then uh, your husband being the head of the household is just your husband being the head of the household, answering the call to do that, regardless of what that looks like. And I think that looks different for a lot of people, depending on the context. We have 8 kids total, 5 still in our house, 2 under 2. So we don't really have time for masculinity and femininity, gender roles in our household. Who's ever closest to the baby when they poop, rock, paper, scissors, that's who's changing diapers, right? And we don't care if it's our son, our daughter, one of us. We're just doing what we need to do to ensure that everyone in the house is being able to experience joy, if possible.
Yeah, I think just piggybacking on that kind of go hand in hand with like male gender roles in the household. Like for since the beginning of time, a woman's supposed to cook, clean, wash clothes, all that type of stuff, and the male's supposed to be outside washing cars. Me personally, I would rather wash the clothes in the house. My wife might not like, folding clothes, but I do.
And I don't.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know why I do, but it gives me a chance to sit there and wash my shoulders and fold clothes. So, and we split the cooking. Yeah, I could cook, she could cook sometimes. Now, one thing she won't do, she won't pump no gas, but you know, uh, it's been going on before time. I don't know. I don't know why culture can't, like, they going with the flow and everything else. It's okay. It's okay for a man to, you know, cook. It's okay for a man to wash clothes. It's okay for a woman to go out and wash the car. You know, so toxic masculinity. I really don't get that one, and I don't foresee me, putting a lot into, listening to that type of stuff going around.
In terms of fatherlessness and just soft leadership in the home, like how does, not having fathers in the home and soft leadership in the home affect homes today?
As an educator, it's easy to spot the students that have a strong male role model, whether in their home or maybe a coach from their athletic team, opposed to those students that don't, more so when it comes to matters of discipline, right? Um, and I think that at this point, we, as a community, I think we've done well to make adjustments to sub in male role models where they need to be, and almost over asserted ourselves, where the assumption is like, oh, they must come from a single parent household. And you're like, no, actually, all my young men have dads in their houses, or something like that, right? I think at this point, we've done so well with supporting our young men to give them male role models that at this point, the young ladies are the ones that we may need to assert a little bit more attention to. When we have I know there was a push a while in communities to have mother-son dances. Why? Because maybe guys weren't around, but when we have father-daughter events, father-son events, it's more fathers here than moms in a lot of instances. And so I am excited to be able to say, at least from that perspective, I've definitely seen an increase in the presence of males in the household and also in the community that are stepping up and engaging young people. And so there's organizations, plenty of mentorship organizations, where there's 100 Black Men of America, 100 Black Women of America, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, all these organizations that are actively recruiting minority males to step in and fill those gaps. And so I think that there was a while, probably in the late 90s, where you could see a lot more turmoil about that. But 2025, I don't know that that's as much of a issue as um, just proper engagement, like how to communicate effectively, how to respect the discipline or authority of women, especially women in leadership roles. I think that that's more kind of what I see that my young men struggle with. Oh, I have a female principal telling me what to do. It's my school. You're doing the wrong thing, right? I think I see a lot more of that. So it's almost like we over asserted our young men and indoctrinated them that you got to be a man. And that's for me. When you said toxic masculinity, I thought that's where you were going, where we're training up our young men to be so over assertive that is not healthy for them, and they don't know how to find a healthy balance in those gender roles and in relationships. And so then it does lead to domestic violence because they're thinking that they have to come in dominating, and young ladies aren't used to that because their fathers are kind and gentle. They're not like that, you know. But we're being so much harder on our young men, and boys don't cry and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, no, they have to be able to show all those sides in order to coexist in relationships, healthy ones anyway, you know.
From my lens, being around, being involved in at Thrive Christian Academy, um, with the young men here, every time we have an event here, you see boatloads of fathers everywhere. When I'm at work, when I encounter, certain people or certain situations, it's like it's not a lot of, father roles out there. So I kind of just experience it both, on both sides of the spectrum, you know what I'm saying? So all this leads back to culture. I feel like if if we bring back the village, if we bring back the village and everyone, you know, have a hand in raising these children, well, we'll be all right. But if we keep separating it and like, and it's almost like segregating the roles instead of everybody on one page having the same role.
So both of y'all spoke a little bit about um, being noticing when a father's not there. I think you spoke a little bit about noticing the kids who may not have fathers, and I think you said with your law enforcement you can see it. What are some of the things that y'all see when that child, whether it's a boy or girl, is coming in without dad in the home?
It's a lack of respect off the jump, straight out the gate. It's a lack of respect, and even when you have a father in the home, just his presence alone demands the respect. If you have an active father in the home, it demands the respect. Man, even though my parents were divorced and they remarried, so we, like my wife spoke earlier, we come from blended households. It didn't matter who told me what. If they say it, that's law.
Yeah.
And if I try to go to one house and we're like, well, my stepdad said over here, my dad would be like, what did he say? It ain't no discussion. But now, you can kind of see, because kids tell everything. Oh, I just go over here where I know I can do this, do that, versus staying over here. But it's that respect. And secondly, it's that lack of accountability. A lot of times the parents are the problem. Man, they feel like their children can't do no wrong. Man, they don't hold their children accountable for anything.
Yeah.
So, I can go down the list.
So it's really just the last thing you said is really on the parents. If the child, if I mean, because the kid ain't asked to be here, right, in this world, right? So he can't or she can't choose the parents, and so it's on the parents to instill values and things into the kids. So just from what I'm listening is a lot of the issues that we may face from our children actually start with the parents. Are they there for them? Are they providing that example? Are they providing the blueprint that they need to have? Whatever it looks like. Each household is different, right? But are they providing some type of structure? And I think to your point, when you do encounter those children that may not or they have behavior issues, it is because the parent probably didn't or isn't or capable or just missing to even instill those values.
I don't know. I think sometimes people overcompensate.
How so?
That when there's a father not in the household, the mothers will overcompensate because they take on the responsibility of trying to fill two roles. Strong women, strong men that are able to undergird and help you fill those gaps because a mother isn't called to be a father, just like a father isn't called to be a mother. They can. I have a lot of single fathers in my school that have their students enrolled here. I have a lot of single mothers that are enrolled here. And then I have just as many dual household parents. And so when all those dynamics come together, it doesn't matter. If we host a daddy STEM day, we got enough dads up there to sub in for anybody that doesn't have it. And the same is true when it comes down to a mom STEM day. I think it's about everyone moving past the survivor's guilt. The kids are feeling survivor's guilt because they were left behind. So they're wondering, why wasn't I good enough? What did I do? Or what did my parent do? And so they're holding some agenda there. I think a lot of times it's mislabeled as aggression or anger. And really they're just, they're just hurt. There's post-traumatic stress. Like kids get to the age where they realize like something's different here. Like my household moves different than other people's household. And there's not enough $200 pairs of shoes that you can buy to make their father come back. But every time they get in trouble, and I send them to the house, they come back in with a new pair of shoes. Why? Oh, well, I got on them, but then I felt bad. You're just like, this is crazy, right? And so these are the roles I think that you're saying, or that we assume are typically filled by a father. That discipline, for some reason, is labeled as a masculine role. But just because there's not a father in the household doesn't mean that there cannot be discipline, right? And so it's important to me just to give credit where credit is due. I think that single parents, whether male or female, are doing the best they can, but I also think that it does take a village. Jesus had company, and Jesus is the God's son. He's God's son. He didn't need friends. He didn't need disciples. If he wanted everybody, he could have did the work. But even Jesus had community, and I think sometimes we're so territorial due to our own trauma and our own hurt that we don't entrust other people to fill those roles when it comes down to our children. And we want to be the disciplinarian. We want to be the one that controls that, but we're not willing to do what needs to be done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, sure. I think the thing that sticks out is um, finding a substitute.
For sure.
And a lot of single parents and or single mother in general, um, do they even know where to go to find that substitute? And it's not always in a like a boyfriend or trying to find a husband or whatnot, but in terms of programs, like what what kind of advice can be given to a single mother who needs that substitute but just may not know where to start?
Man, be humble. Be humble enough to realize that you need help. That it's not on you to do it all. Even in your school selection, man, find a school that's got minority male teachers. Find a school that has a large presence of minority males. They got to go to school legally. So if nothing else, they can spend 8 hours a day around some positive male role models, even if you don't want to get up on the weekends and do Boy Scouts. You don't want to get up on the weekends and do the mentor organizations. At this point, the internet, if you're not finding an organization you don't want to, I'm sorry. I'm not entertaining that. We find everything else. We find tickets to a show in the next city. We find what we need to find to go on girls trips. We find the outfit that we saw somebody walk by and we want it. We take a picture, find the app, upload it, and it tells us where to go. We find it on the Amazon. Okay, listen. At this point, if you want help, if you're humble enough to say, you know what, I need some help with this boy. Male mentorship organizations near me. Enter. I mean, a slew of them are gonna pop up. It requires sacrifice, and I think that sometimes we want the benefit without the sacrifice. We don't want to give up our standing Saturday morning hair appointment that we have at 7 o'clock every Saturday to take our kid across town to the Kappa League, right? But we want the benefit of the Kappa League. We want the mentorship, but we don't put in the sacrifice for it. And so I think that at this point, we need to lean into the resources that are available to us and support those organizations that are willing to do it. Because those organizations disappear if we don't put our kids in.
what will make you feel empowered to lead your family and not feel as though every time you have this thing that, hey, I think this would benefit us, that you're not challenged in every way or every decision that you're about to make? Like, how can a woman actually empower her husband to lead in the family?
I think my simple answer is belief. I think it's important for people to know that you believe in them. Yeah, when my husband presents something, even if it doesn't make sense to me, my response isn't like, "Oh, that's stupid." My response is like, "Say more," because that's new. I hadn't heard that before. Say more. What does that look like? What does it look like for you? What does it look like for our kids? How does it benefit you? How does it benefit our household? I think that a good starting point in empowering anyone is to acknowledge that they hold value, to acknowledge that they're capable of accomplishing whatever it is that they're suggesting, and also to challenge them to look at it from the lens of head of household, because that's who you are, right? And so, if this is the decision that you're making, how does that impact our kids getting to flag football practice on Saturdays? How does it impact us going to church as a family on Sundays? How does it impact who has to get up and make the diaper bag on Monday through Friday when we get ready to go to school? Like, how does it impact the household um, since you are the head of the household? And I think that that gives someone the assurance, number one, that you hold value here, so much value that everything shifts off of every decision that you make. And because everything shifts off of every decision that you make, we're confident that you're going to make the right decision.
So this is more or less engaging and nurturing the thought and or idea without
Sure.
demonizing what he's trying to do.
Yeah, I think it's important to let it play out because I mean, how often do people really have like a full vision of what it is they're trying to pursue versus like, okay, what are you thinking? How do you see this playing out? You know, yeah, because everything sounds good in a moment, but it's like next week we got to make it to softball and flag football on two opposite sides of town. How's that going to play into that? Does it profit? Does it benefit us? But I do think it's important to encourage whoever you're in a relationship with. I think it's important to encourage them to think outside the box and to go for whatever it is that they envision. I do think that's important.
How can you know, as it relates to the leading piece, how can men lead without coming off as controlling?
You got to be consistent in what you're saying.
For sure.
Like just like just like just like my wife just said, like that series of questions she just ran down. Like if I brought something to her that I wanted to pursue, and that series of questions, it can be mistaken as, oh, you don't want me to do it. So it take a strong individual to be like, she's asking these questions, so you can kind of think it through. Not saying that it's something that she don't think you should do. She just want to make sure that it's okay for the household. Is it going, like she was saying, like it's going to benefit the household? Because truth be told, a lot of men, a lot of us, if we brought an idea to our spouse and they came with they backdoor with those series of questions, they'd be very offended. Like, oh, you don't believe in me? No, it ain't that. We just
So let me ask though. Let me ask though. So now, because it can go two ways.
For sure.
What if you always question every time you got this idea, you have a good track record of doing the right thing in terms of leading the family,
Yeah.
but it's always question, there's always a roadblock before you can actually go through the road. At what point does it like become too much?
I
I
think
don't
that's about perspective.
yeah, I
Because I
don't
don't
think
think
it
questions are roadblocks.
I don't think that's a communication piece. Like, man, communication is big.
Sure.
Just like in our household, when I come to her with something I might want to pursue, she's gonna go down and she's gonna go this, and this. Did you think this through? And the same thing, she come to me with some stuff like she want to do something, and I'm like, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? but you can't be offended because a person is communicating with you, asking a question. Because if they just run off and do it, you're going to really be in your feelings about it. So at least the person is coming to you, you know, communicating like, hey, what do you think about this? I want to pursue this.
I think part of it is like knowing that that person is cool either way. I think sometimes we're offended with the question because we think that that's the person's way of trying to talk us out of it, versus that's the person trying to get in alignment. And it's important that a household is in alignment. Like it's cool for me. Like I'm my husband's biggest fan. He already knows that. That's why I said, oh, consistency saves the day. Because like, when have I ever not supported you? Cool. So why would you hear me asking this question as me challenging you? If you've been supported in everything that you've ever done since I've met you, then that gets me some stake where I can ask a question and it not be offensive. Number one, I'm not coming to offend. And so if you're offended by me saying, okay, what does that look like for you? Then you haven't thought it through. Like, maybe you're offended because you're still thinking through it. I think that it's important to communicate on the onset so you can be supported. Like, yeah, I'm a different kind of person. So I expect when I tell my husband something for him to be like, that makes absolutely no sense, Monica. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Oh. And then I just lean into the table like waiting on the next question. He's like, so when you think about doing that? Tomorrow. What you think? He's like it's kind of like, for me, it's almost like my husband's more like my chalkboard, like me brainstorming. And like it's good. It's good for me to brainstorm with someone that's gonna challenge it, because the things that I'm called to do are gonna come with challenge. But I've already had practice with someone that I know loves me, that I know supports me 100%. But when he asks a question like, financially, does that even make sense for the school? If a parent asks me that, I'm offended because I don't know them like that. I'm like, your kid go to my school. You don't trust me? If my husband asks me that, I'm like, in the safety of my bedroom, I'm like, okay, fair question. Think of a response to that, Monica, because you know it's going to come tomorrow. Like, it kind of gives me a chance to get my thoughts together. And that's just how my brain works. Now, my husband's brain works very different than mine. All right. Like, and I know that because he takes his time to process things, that by the time he's brought it to me, it took him a while to build up the courage to that. So I'm not just gonna like pop his balloon, because I know it took a lot of courage and he's already thought through that. And so when I ask questions like, well, what does that look like for you? That's just me trying to get a visual, because I'm a visual person. I'm not a visual person. So it's hard for me. And he'll know if I'm not being authentic. Like he'll know if I just come in like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. He's gonna be like, what have you done to my wife? And who are you? There's a stranger in my house, right? So that's what I'm saying. I just think it's important to be consistent, because regardless of what question I ask, he's never not been supported. Regardless of what pushback I get from him, I've never not been supported. So it's kind of just like, okay, like I have to be mature. I think maturity plays a huge role in it. I think establishing beforehand that I got your back and you have my back is important. I think if it's like a relationship that's on edge and you're using this to test to see, wifey material, oh, is he husband material? You're gonna fall flat every time because you don't have the history. Yeah, we got history. So we already know. Like, even if I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea, or even if my husband says he doesn't think it's a good idea, I know if I feel led to do it and I pursue it, he's gonna have my back. He's not gonna do it anything begrudgingly. You wouldn't walk in the room and know that he told me that it wasn't a good idea. You wouldn't know that. You'd be like, man, this turned out great, man. I'm glad you had your wife's back. And then he's like, no, actually, I told her she shouldn't do it. Right? But he comes to events all the time at the school where he's like, you're overspending. They're not going to appreciate it. I don't think you should do it. And he comes to the event and people are just like, man, your wife pulled it off. And he's like, yo, I knew she would. And in the back of my mind, he's like, and I told her, even knowing that she would, I told her she shouldn't do nothing for y'all folks, right? Kind of vibe. But I think that I think that's important. I think it's important to be able to have those intimate conversations and still, regardless of what's shared in public, to be able to present a united front. I do think that's important, because then we both share the credit for it. You started out asking my husband what's his role at Thrive, but I own Thrive. I started Thrive before we got married. Yeah, so I could have been over here offended. Like, why you asking me? It's like being in a church and assuming that the male is the lead pastor. What if I'm the lead pastor, right? But no, it's just like, it's ours. We share it.
What I like right now is you guys compliment each other. Right. I think being complimentary within a relationship takes you a long way.
For sure.
How can someone who is getting into a relationship or thinking about being in a long-term relationship understand or realize that that it's best to find out how to complement each other. So, what kind of advice can you give to a couple? And again, every relationship's going to be different,
For sure.
but in terms of complementary, I think there's a baseline across all in terms of leading towards success. So, what type of advice could you guys give for a couple who needs to understand that being complementary toward each other will work best?
I think you just have to have an open mind. Yeah, you gotta allow people. You gotta allow people to be themselves. This culture, people have the saying, "Oh, you're in your feelings." I think you need to allow a person to be in their feelings so you know what you're dealing with. If that's something that you're gonna deal with or gonna be able to deal with, you need to allow people to be in their feelings and have an open mind about, how a person feeling.
For sure.
Or how you feeling. So that's my number one right there.
My first thought, again, is all about perspective, man. And my perspective is based on what my grandmother philosophy web taught me to base it on, which is the Bible. And the Bible says that you should be evenly yoked. And it doesn't mean that you have the same yoke. It doesn't mean that your yoke is the same color. It doesn't mean that you want to be bothered all the time every single day. But it does mean that you should complement one another. And so my husband has named like communication and allowing people to express themselves and know themselves and be able to be their authentic selves to be a sign of maturity towards complimenting one another. I believe that complimenting one another a lot of times is just about basic respect. Like, because I respect you, because I value you, I'm going to show you my authentic self so that you know what you're working with. Because before I get invested, I'm also like we're both investing in this space, and so we have to have a similar mentality. If I'm thinking short term relationship and you're thinking long term relationship, then I don't want to invest, right? But you have to tell me what you're thinking so I can make my own decisions. Like, let me choose if I want to be invested here or not. Let me choose if I'm willing to settle for a one night stand. Let me choose if I'm willing to settle for like, hey, we just kick it, but we do our own thing. Don't make that choice for me, right? Because then we call it something else. We call it, oh, you're cheated. Oh, you did this. You're like, well, that was never my intention in the first place. But that's not what you told me, right? And so respect, integrity. I think compatibility has a lot to do with just being honest if things change. When Eric and I met, both of us were coming out of divorces. Neither one of us were looking for a long-term relationship. And he was very vocal about that. He's like, I don't want no girlfriend. I don't want no wife again, ever. I don't want any more kids. I'm just trying to live my life, get promoted on my job, have a good time, you know, talk to you on the phone. We were in different states, so it wasn't like a it was just like, oh, okay, cool, pen pals. We're pen pals. Great. This is gonna be fun. And the more we communicated and the more we got to know one another and just clowning, and my cousins and I being in town and then him being in town in Atlanta visiting family, it's just like, oh, I might actually like you. And I think that's how we said it one day, like, you know what? I think I actually like you. This might be fun, and we're just brainstorming out loud, shooting the breeze, no weight. And so then we just kept kind of dating casually. And then it's like, yeah, I think I'm feeling you. Let's revisit that real quick. And one thing that he used to always say was things change, because I would call him out. I'd be like, I thought you didn't want things change. Things change. Right. And I think what happens, and even though it's a humorous form of it, I think that even when you get in relationships, even when you get in marriages, things change and we don't have the courage to say it because I wasn't authentic from Jump Street. If I wake up tomorrow and I don't want to be bothered with my locks, I go get a haircut. Like, and I'm just like, things change. If my husband wakes up tomorrow, he doesn't want to be a police officer anymore, and he's like, listen, things change. It's just like, okay, because I didn't fall in love with your career, right? I fell in love with you as a person because you presented your person first. And what happens when we get in relationships, we present our cars first. We present our 401k first. And so then the person is attracted to that, and then we have to change ourselves later on in it. Well, no, just lead with you. Lead with you. Be humble, be discreet, everybody doesn't need to know what you have when they first meet you, you know? So you can see, like, are we compatible? Our compatibility and communication was forced because we weren't in the same state. So it wasn't anything for us to flaunt. I wasn't big on social media back then. And he was going viral back then. I didn't know that. So to me, I was just like, oh, that's cute. Anyway, how was your day? Like, I'm just asking regular people questions because I don't know to be like, oh, how many t-shirts did y'all sell today? How many mugs? Oh, what they do in your department today for you going viral? It wasn't. I yeah, I just knew him as him, right? And then later on, I found out about all the other things I knew to ask about them. So I think compatibility starts with um, you being mature enough to get to know your own self first. Um, you being mature enough to present that, knowing that you're good enough. And if you're not good enough for that person, then guess what? That's not your person. It's just not your person, and that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's not your person.
I think both of y'all hit on it. You know, and I'm kind of paraphrasing what you guys
Sure.
said, but you said the same thing. Be yourself, right? Both be yourself. And if I like who you are and you like who I am, then that compatibility is going to be flawless. If you're putting on the front, and to your point, if you're selling X, Y, and Z and that's not the person, then what if the 401k changes? Right? And that's what I was attracted to,
Yeah.
right? And now was I really compatible with you to even begin
In
with?
the first place.
Yeah. So I think, both of y'all said it the same, differently, but the same. And that's what I took from it. Be yourself. Let me determine if I'm attracted to you.
For sure.
Right. And I'm going to be myself. And you
Right.
determine if you're attracted to me.
Right.
And we'll go from there.
Yeah.
And it seems like how you guys have explained, because I remember you explaining it when you were back on the last episode, is that, y'all just talked to each other over the phone, and it wasn't
We didn't even talk on the
text,
phone.
was it text?
It was
It was
text
text.
message.
Right. So it's
Yeah,
texting,
it
right?
was
So,
text message.
I mean, that's a grind getting to know some through text message.
Yeah, man, you got to be intentional about
Yeah.
them text messages. You're like, no, I didn't say that right. So,
Deleting before you re-say it.
yeah, like, no, that don't sound right. But,
Yeah.
man, that went on for how long? About 3-4 months before we actually met up, or we didn't even talk on the phone.
Yeah, but it goes back to what you were asking from Jump Street, like our masculinity and femininity in combat with one another. And it's just like, how can you judge that if you don't present your authentic self? Right? This is my voice. It's deep. Depending on where I am. If I'm in church, people say, oh, you must be able to sing. If I'm somewhere professional, people say, oh, you got a great radio voice. If I'm on the phone with customer service, they call me sir. Because I just got a deep voice, right? But I'm not on the phone trying to make my voice lighter than what it is to appear to be more feminine. I don't like folding clothes. So he's known that from jump. When we started dating, what are you doing? Oh, Lord, it's laundry day. I hate folding clothes. I don't mind washing them. He's like, I love folding clothes. Woo, that works. Right? Like, we were just our authentic selves. I don't like what I don't like. And I think sometimes we start relationships compromising too soon. No, the compromise happens after we're committed and we've become one, and now we have to negotiate space. When you're a single man and I'm a single woman, I don't have to compromise anything. For what? You're your own person. I'm my own person. Yeah, if we become one, that's when we start compromising. But I think people put the compromise ahead of the authentic realization of who are you fooling with in the first place.
So, in a sense, ensure that the foundation is aligned before the compromising starts.
Yeah, not even a line,
They
but that it's
operate.
worth your time.
They operating out of order. It's a order. To me, it's like an order you really need to go in. Like my wife said from jump, if you just allow, if what did you say? Yeah, we both said that. If you just allow a person to be themselves,
For sure.
and then you just put it out there, you can't be. You've tried everything. Why not try this? You know what I'm saying? And and you can't be scared of
Rejection.
the rejection or the reaction that the other person gonna give.
Yeah.
Because after you say it, it's out there. So you're like, man, you can just sit back, see the reaction,
See how they move.
see how they act. They gonna, man, body language. I don't care how much you try to hide it. Body language is gonna tell the truth every time. It be a lot of stuff that I say, and my wife might walk off. She'll be like, I don't really care for that, or she'll be like, oh, okay, that's cool, but I know my wife. she don't really care for that, even though she said that's cool. So no, we're not doing it, and it's vice versa. She know me the same way. I'm like, all right, that's cool. You know, we're not doing it.
Yeah, I think you gotta move beyond hearing what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Like we see it, like when we're dating, we see what we want to see, whether a person presents that or not. We hear what we want to hear, what the person presents or not. Someone can tell you clear as day, like, bro, I really don't want to be bothered with that. And then like, you're like, oh, well, I'm gonna get them to take me to the movies. And so you go out of your way to get them to take you to the movies, and all of a sudden you're married and you're like, you're not romantic. And you're just like, he was never romantic. She was never romantic. Mm-hmm. He was just compromising. She was just compromising to appease you. But once you get married, I'm telling you right now, the desire to appease once you're married is like out the window. So if you start your relationship that way, it's just crazy. It's just like, okay, you don't like to do that. Well, we'd be better off just finding a common ground. What's something that we actually do have in common that we both enjoy doing than me dragging you to do something you don't want to do. I'm going with you to do something that you want to do. And so now we don't have a basis for our relationship on what do we enjoy doing together. We don't even know authentically. We don't even know what we enjoy doing together. Why? Because we were just compromising, trying to appease each other. I didn't want to say no. We didn't want to reject. I didn't want you to not call me back. And just like, bro, if they don't call back this person, that's okay. And that's okay. I think that's okay. I think we misread that's not my person as I'm not good enough or something's wrong with me. How come nobody wants to be in a relationship with me? I was divorced with 3 kids under the age of 5. So I had to take my own self out the game. I was like, okay, even if y'all did kick it, like, what would come out of that? Girl, you ain't get married again until you get these kids out of school, right? Like, this is my honest thought. And so I didn't go into our relationship with an expectation for like a long-term relationship. He didn't come into it with a long-term relationship expectation. So for us to end up here, we're like, oh, just God and compatibility brought us here. And we know that because I wasn't putting on for him because I wasn't trying to impress him. I didn't have an expectation. And he wasn't putting on for me. We were just being our authentic selves. And guess what, yeah, we messed around and liked each other's authentic self. I was like, oh, I like you. Oh, I love you. Oh, this works. And when people challenged it was easier to stand flat footed because it was like, oh, he doesn't want anything from me. And I don't want anything from him other than what we've agreed to. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because we both came into it authentically and organically.
I think that's the big piece is that it flowed.
For sure.
It was organic.
For sure.
And it wasn't manufactured.
Yeah.
With no pressure at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you guys had I don't want to say you had low expectations for one another, but to your point,
yeah.
like your expectation was you just this is where I'm at. You know, if it work out, work out. If it don't, it don't.
Yeah,
but
sure.
ironically, you guys synced up,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's how relationships need to go to where not necessarily the expectation being how are these or expecting someone to do X, Y, and Z. Hey, we're gonna see what this thing's gonna be about. We're gonna see if we're compatible. Do our foundations and core beliefs align? If they do, let's go ahead and make it to the next layer or whatever that next step is, right? So,
Because think of it like a puzzle.
yeah,
Like you could force the piece to fit.
yeah.
But what happens with the next piece?
Or you can force it to fit and it just don't fit.
Yeah. But if I force it, now I've thrown off everything else for the rest of it. So now I have to force everything. And that's how relationships are. If you start out forcing it, now the things that would have easily fallen in place, now you got to force all the rest of the pieces, man. No, thank you.
Yeah.
No,
I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of you said something about, being okay with self. I think if you're okay with self, you're not going to allow anything to be forced,
Right.
and you're not going to try to force anything
Right.
because you're good with self first, right? So I think before you can even come into a relationship, before you can even try to define or redefine or what masculinity and femininity looks like, you need to define who you are,
Right.
right? If you define who you are, you know who you are.
Right.
Someone comes along that doesn't know who they are, you're not going to deal with that.
Right.
But you will deal with somebody who has done the work on self. You've done the work on self. And now, like, you're going to protect the work that you've done, right? And if you've protected it and they've done the same thing, they worked on themselves, and to you guys' point, you like each other, then that's almost like a match made in heaven.
Well, yeah, and then you also change who you rock with. If I've done the work,
Yep.
then I only rock with people that make me better.
Yep.
I don't rock with people that take me backwards.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Because you know where you done came from. You don't want to be back there.
Mhm.
Gotta deal with nobody like that that's gonna take you back there.
That's about it. A lot of way.
Yeah. And that's why you were so hardcore about what you wanted, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was feeling out. Just if you're not on this, I don't want it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this kind of brings us to the end, and certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here with y'all in Atlanta. I think I hadn't been to Atlanta in almost 15 years, maybe, and I'm back because of you all having us. I feel like the guest, but I think this is an awesome experience to see my brother again and to finally meet you. He's talked about you, and he.
Whole bunch of something. I'll tell you later.
But I think even with the academy, I think it's awesome in terms of what's being done for the children. I think obviously the old cliche, our children are our future, and you guys are pouring into the kids, which are going to be our future. So, salute to you all. I'll be praying for you. If there's anything I can do to help out, by all means, feel free to reach out. If we want to get together and maybe talk about some things that you all want to talk about for the podcast, I'm here for that. Anything that's going to make our future brighter, I'm here for it. So, but again, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
And I'm shaking your hand.
Yes.
All right, I appreciate it, y'all. Masculinity and femininity were never meant to compete. They were designed to complete. When we honor our God-given roles, homes get stronger, communities get better, generations get wiser. It's time we stop fighting against our differences and start fighting for our families, our futures, for our purpose. If this conversation bless you, challenge you, or open your eyes, don't just sit on it. Share this episode with somebody who needs it. Comment your biggest takeaway. Make sure you subscribe to the Purpose Pursuit podcast. We don't just talk purpose, we chase it down.